I know I usually work really hard to do 3 looks 1 palette, but my film queue is so long and I just really get so excited that the delay of making the 3 looks 1 palette means that I just don't have the patience to wait. So I am back here again today, and this time I'm going to be filming with Indigo Ink. Here is what the inside looks like. It all got to me in one piece. I actually have since gifted violet ink to a friend. I don't have it anymore, specifically because this is not monochrome is why I bought it. I know some people were really disappointed, but I actually really like the variety that is offered here. Definitely feels like I'll have more room to play with this. I don't really use Whale Song like ever because of the fact that it's almost too monochromatic for me. I think this is going to be a lot more fun. So I do plan on doing 3 looks 1 palette with a ton of palettes, but I can only film 1 max 2 looks a day, and for 2 that is really just going to eat up my entire day, and I have had very busy days. So expect a lot of just first impressions with me just doing 1 look. Right after I filmed my Get Ready With Me talking about Buster, he suddenly has stopped eating, so I was gonna film today, but I've been spending all afternoon trying to get him to eat, so I'm just sitting down really quick to try and get this out the door for you guys, and yeah, let's get started. So I'm gonna prime with my Menagerie Cosmetics primer. I've just been using this as my go-to. This is like my go-to. I'm filming late at night, my skin is dehydrated and, you know, has suffered through the entire day, so this is just my go-to. Let's try and relax my skin before I beat it up with even more makeup kind of a feel. Really should start filming in the mornings, but you know, I really also want to exercise in the morning, so I have 2 things competing for my mornings. Also, I have some hyperpigmentation going on up here, so I can see how this looks like a filler mustache. I can promise you guys I have not gotten any filler put anywhere in my face. I want to, but it has not happened yet. I have Botox right here to stop me from frowning too much, but the lips have nothing. I also have some hyperpigmentation coming back around the corners of my mouth. It doesn't bother me too much. Honestly, I could care less about it, but I can see how on camera you guys would think I got filler in my upper lip. If I did, I would have been telling everyone about it because I would have been so excited. And then I do need to prime my under eyes and my eyelids. Now, Menagerie Cosmetics shadows will stain like nobody's business, so instead of eye primer, I'm gonna use my Shape Tape Ultra Creamy Concealer. I really want to make sure I have a pretty thick barrier between my skin and the eyeshadow. I don't want to look like I have a bruise when I go to work tomorrow. I'm gonna go in with Luminous Silk Concealer. I really am feeling matte full coverage, but Luminous Silk is gonna be the closest we're getting to matte full coverage. And I'm using a sponge that I spritzed with a hydrating mist, so it's not totally damp, so that should kind of remove some of the glow. They look pretty covered, right? I'm going to do my little contour thing. And I am gonna go ahead and also use this palette just to kind of contour my face. I'm not gonna need much setting powder at all because the Luminous Silk foundation kind of sets down on its own. I know I rag on this palette all the time for being honestly pretty bad, but that's really just because you can only use a couple of the shades in it unless you use it as like eyeshadow or something. The light contour shade is actually a really nice color for me. It's like too warm for contour but too cool to be like a true bronzer, so I use it as a bronzer. I think it looks really nice that way. I'm gonna be using my Kogendo moisture powder. I think this will be perfect for today given that the foundation does not need much setting at all. And now I just need to add some setting spray. I need to put on my eyebrows, so I'm going to use Brow Blade and Cool Cookie, and I'm using the pencil side. I almost jumped straight into a really out there wacky palette with no eyebrows on. I would have looked really strange. I was at Walgreens Squishmallow hunting and I saw the SKU for Tangy, the orange bat, and no Tangy, but I did see that they had the brow pen from NYX in stock. They did also have the Sweet Cheeks and I was gonna get that too, but ultimately I just was like, I can't get 2 of these things at once, just pick one. So I got this in the shade black and I'm eager to try it because Angie talks about it a lot, so let's see if this does anything. When I swatched it on my hand, it did not look promising at all. but hand swatches are not everything. It bled a lot and it didn't seem very defined. Like, I want my brow pen for each stroke to come out looking like hair-like strokes and to stay that thin. I don't want any bleeding at all. And when I swatched it on my hand, I was like, oh no, it's bleeding on my hand. But we'll see how it looks like. So on my actual brow, I don't see any bleeding. The tip feels wonderful. It is extremely thin, flexible, and easy to control. It feels even more pliable than the Glossier Brow Flick, and it feels similarly flexible to the Brow Blade. I will say this shade is, despite being black, it's not really that dark, but as you can see, the strokes are very, very thin on my forehead, even though they bled on my hand. I would presume that's just because my hand has more like cracks and wrinkles, and I so far really like this. I will be including that in my haul roundup. It's just literally just me collecting a bunch of stuff I've been like buying here and there, so I'll include that. I'll try it a couple more times. Alright, now we can go ahead and prime. So I'm going to use, as I mentioned before, I don't want these eyeshadows to stain too badly. It can also make it a hassle to film the next day because, you know, I have to cover all that up. So I'm using this ultra creamy concealer. It's a little bit light for me to use as an actual concealer. I still use it as a concealer sometimes, but yeah, I find this actually works pretty okay as an eye primer just because it is very creamy, so it spreads really well and it doesn't dry out my eyelids very much. So it kind of feels to me like what I wanted the ABH eye primer to be, which it wasn't, hence why I don't have it anymore. I'm putting on a little bit more than I usually put on just so that I can really cover up my eyelid. Eyelids have been concealed. Now let's jump into this. I have no idea what I want to do. I think I definitely want to fuss around with one of these two colors over here. I feel like one of them looks almost like it could be a multi-chrome, and the fact that it's called Chromatophore makes me think that this is the supposed multi-chrome in this palette. So I think we're gonna play around with this as our point shadow. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna first go into Nori. I feel like it's not a very Nori color. I feel like if I saw Nori as an eyeshadow, I would think of something that wasn't a yellow-green, but who knows, we might be like thinking of different Nori. All right, I'm gonna put this on the inner part of my eyelid. I will say anything yellow with yellow in it is gonna always kind of come across a little more buildable. That is a really nice color though, and it didn't take me much building at all to get a nice good opacity out of it. Alright, that looks really nice. Change brushes. I am now going to go into Inky Torpedo, and I'm going to put this on the outer portion. A little bit scared of how this will turn out. I know sometimes the fallout can be pretty intense, so I'm not using a super dense brush because all of mine are dirty. I'll just have to be as careful as possible. It does diffuse very well, so that is nice. I do plan on putting the metallic in the middle, so I don't necessarily need these two shades to meet and blend. If I did that, it would kind of create a very interesting, kind of muddy effect, so I'm gonna change brushes. This is not working. I do need to use something denser so I can really get it to max opacity. There, that's a lot better, isn't it? And by packing it on carefully like this, I'm actually getting a almost unnoticeable amount of fallout. And that's what it's looking like so far. Definitely really fun. So I'm gonna repeat all of this on the other eye, which is always the hard part. So I'm gonna lay it down, and then I'm gonna go back to that brush I used earlier that I thought would work and didn't. But I am gonna use this brush to blend it, and you can see how easily my brush is able to catch a hold of those pigments and just diffuse them into the shape that I want. I'm just trying to establish the outer boundary of this eyeshadow. You can see how that's looking. Definitely looking really nice. I'm gonna take what's left on the brush, so nothing new, and I'm gonna just kind of add that to my lower lash line, just the outer part. This is just gonna kind of start the lower lash line. Just like that. I'm just kind of the opening act, so to speak, of that. Alright, and now we're gonna start playing with those shimmers. So I'm gonna take Chromatophore. Sounds so fun to say. And I'm going to start laying that on my eyelid. I'm gonna start with the brush first, see how that goes. Ooh, yeah, this is pretty. Yeah, that's nice. I wish I had a bigger version of this, but I do not. So I'll just work nice and slow. And I'm putting it right between those two shades. This is too slow. I'm just gonna use my finger. That is such a pretty color. Oh my gosh, I'm in love. On my finger, you can really see the shifts on my finger. And I kind of swooped it up and out, you know, just flatters my eye shape that way. I'm gonna take the remnants on my finger and pop it on my other eyelid. You can see how much I can just really get off my finger. Still a lot left. This is beautiful. Now Menagerie's formula is very, very metallic, very robust for sure. So if you have texture on your eyelid, be careful about applying too much. As you can see, I have that pimple right here, right? And you can definitely see it being very accentuated by the metallic. Now I don't care. It's so pretty that I don't care that now you can see that I have a pimple there, but just in case you guys wanted to know. And I'm just kind of doing that same angle where it's swooping down into my inner corner, and that's what it's looking like, so you can still see that yellow-green shade peeking through. I'm gonna clean my finger off because it's covered in shadow. It is pretty hard to get off my finger, so I do kind of expect this to stain my eyelid a little bit. You can see it's leaving a stain on my finger. It'll probably come off when I shower tonight, but you know, just letting you guys know. I really want to try something. It might ruin the look. You know, it's worth finding out, I guess. I want to see what happens if I use this red over here, which is called Pygmy. I'm gonna take a very small brush, the smallest I can find. I have like no small brush. Amazing. I'm gonna just take it on the very tip of a brush, try my best to be precise. Kind of want to see what happens if I put it like right over here. And I'm very lightly blending it into that yellow-green, but not very much because you guys know green and red do not like to mix. I'm gonna let it mix into the blue to create that very interesting purple. Just wondered what it would be like to have a flash of red up there. I do wish I had more lid space. I always wish I had more lid space, but I'm gonna kind of let it trail off with the angle of my eyebrow. I think it adds a really nice touch, personally. That's what it's looking like. Honestly, I think it looks pretty cool, actually. Okay, and now I'm just gonna blend that out. So I'm gonna use a clean brush and I'm just gonna lightly touch the top because I just want the top to be a little less like defined. I am gonna go ahead and put this on my lower lash line too, just to kind of mirror what's going on. I think it'll add some cohesion. Using this palette makes me really want to get that Blend Bunny Surge palette. That's all I can think of while I'm using this is how the shade, some of the shades in here, there's like even darker versions in Surge. She had like a flash hidden 25% off sale and I missed it because I wasn't online. I was so mad. I think that looks pretty cool. I think I'm gonna go ahead and go back with that blue. I think the blue could be dragged out just a little bit further, so I'm not using any new product, I'm just using the brush to pull the blue out more. It's just a little more blended now. I don't really have like a real inner corner highlight, but I am gonna go ahead and put a shade on my lower lash line. Now I could put this on, but I don't think this is gonna work super well over a red. That would be interesting to say the least. I think instead I might be better off putting Shell Yeah, which is the only other shimmer here. I'm gonna put this on the inner part of my lower lash line, and if it doesn't look good, I'll just cover it with a highlighter, so we'll see how this works. And I'll try to be as precise as I can. This is actually really pretty. It has a really nice coral pinky kind of feel to it. You know what? I have something I can use. I have applicators. Okay, let me use the side of an applicator and it'll get much more precise now. And intense too. I am gonna go back over it with the red because I am covering it up a little bit. I'll go back over it. But that is so pretty. Alright, I'm gonna use the other side of the applicator and I am just gonna kind of go back over that red. I know you're not supposed to use these to apply eyeshadow, but I literally just need to deepen that red back up. So the applicator actually will be perfect for that. And let this be a lesson to all of you guys watching to clean your brushes. Alright, and that is this look. I think it looks so pretty. I love it a lot, actually. If you just, you know, ignore this very obvious pimple now. Yeah, that really is the chunkier and the shinier the metallics get. It's gonna, if you have bumps on your eyelid, you are gonna see those bumps, but I personally don't care. Okay, so from what I've used so far, I love how this has turned out, I love how it's looking, and this really didn't take as much effort to make as it looks like it did, I promise. If somebody like me can make it, certainly you guys can make it too. So I am just missing at this point an inner corner highlighter, and I think the ideal highlighter for this, I was gonna use Moonstone initially, but I think it would actually be good to just be very plain and use Pearl. This is an extremely white highlighter, like very, very white looking. It's almost too white for me to use on my skin. I feel like it makes me look dead, but as an inner corner highlight, this will look really pretty. So I'm just gonna take it and dust it right here and I'm just using that quote-unquote small fluffy brush I have, and it actually is working in my favor because it's letting me build it up nice and slow. Speaking strictly about powder highlighters, I've not really found a formula similar to Becca. I've heard there's formulas similar if you go to luxury, but then you're paying more than what you would have paid if you had just bought something from Becca, so then what's the point? Okay, that's what it's looking like as an inner corner highlight. I think it's really pretty. I applied it in a way that it just brightens up the colors underneath as opposed to looking like I put a white highlighter on top of everything, and I think that looks perfect. I love how this turned out. I feel like I look like a fish, which probably was the point of this palette. I do need to, obviously this is a look that's gonna demand false lashes, so let's work on that. Curl these guys and put on some mascara. I feel like this would go faster if I had a hairdryer up here and I just like used a hot curler. I have a random spare hairdryer I no longer use, but I keep forgetting to bring it up here. It's just like hanging out downstairs. I'm gonna go ahead and put mascara on my bottom lashes first, just so that while I'm working on my upper eyelids they can dry. And then I'm just going to use Maybelline Full and Soft on the upper lashes because I'm not keeping this makeup on for very long, so I don't want to take forever to have to remove it. I'm just popping this on to keep my lashes curled for the duration of this video, basically, and photos. As I've mentioned before, I find this mascara extremely boring, so I only use it for that purpose. Alright, I'm using Doe Lashes in Morning Dew. I think these are really nice. Alright, that is my lashes on. I think I could use something in the waterline, so now would be a perfect time for me to try out my Too Faced Killer Liner in Killer Sapphire. I am still working through testing out all the colors I got. I definitely got probably too many colors. So far my experience has been that they're not really great as actual liners, like lining your eyes. They seem to be more designed to go on the waterline, which if that's the way it is, you know, obviously I'm not going to use them that much because I don't put stuff in my waterline often, but we'll try it today because I think a blue in the waterline will look really nice. So this is supposedly a blue color. That's what it looks like. It looks a little bit more black than blue once it's actually in the waterline, which I guess it's fine. I am gonna kind of run it under by my lashes on my actual lash line as well, just to blend it in a little bit. Definitely not sure I should have gotten so many shades, but they were all half off and I just kind of went a little bit crazy, so there's that. But let's finish up the face. Now I definitely think a very subtle blush is going to be in order here, something that kind of matches the vibe of this look. So I have this Peiliee blush. It's very it's like white basically, and it's a very pale pink, so I think this will be perfect. Cats are jumping around. You can really see how it barely shows up on my skin, but you can definitely see how it almost added a brightening effect, so that's kind of the whole point of this blush. If I didn't have contour on my cheek, this probably would show up. And then I'm gonna go in with Plum Pop, which is a darker version of that basically because it has similarly cool undertones, and I'm just gonna use a very small amount of this just right in the center, just so that it actually looks like I have pink blush down. The Clinique Cheek Pop formula definitely lends itself to denser brushes, so by using this same fluffy brush I can really control the amount and build it up carefully. This is a situation where I need the cheeks to be not too drastic or else it's gonna really clash with the eyes. Okay, and now you can see I just barely have a hint of color on my cheek. And now I'm gonna do lips. I'll do highlighter after I do lips because I want to make sure everything can like go together to some extent. I'm using Cosmetics Fawn. Definitely something really cool is going to work with this look, so I'm gonna use Petal Tassel from Romand. It almost makes me look dead. Like the birthday gift from Sephora from Rare Beauty has a liquid lip mousse thing that is like a lighter shade than this. Like it's the same color as this but with more white in it. That actually made me look like a corpse. So I do not have it anymore because I would literally never wear it. This I could get away with if I was wearing like really light foundation and really like lavender pastel cool tone blush and no bronzer. This is the kind of lip where you wear bronzer with it and you look like terrible, so I'm just using it for something else to go on top of. Definitely an interesting shade, particularly coming from a Korean brand. Very interesting to say the least, for sure. I think something red to match with the flash of red. I also have Icy, which is right here. I think I'm gonna use Icy. I forgot I had this. My lip setup is such that if it's too far out to the right, I like forget about it, so. And I'm just applying it like a gradation. Now you can see how the base shade works a lot better. So I use these two shades together basically, and you can see how they work together really well. They have similar undertones. I think I would benefit from having some really light toned lip pencil liners that are in cooler undertones than fawn. I currently only have lip liners that like match or are slightly darker than my lip color, so if I ever want to do something truly that's like a true gradation, and particularly with cooler toned colors, I am going to need to pick up some really light lip liners, like concealer lip liners, but like in various shades of undertones ranging from pink to beige. So if you guys have any recommendations for those, definitely let me know. Yeah, we definitely appreciate, because lip liners are something I'm like super new to. I really only use like fawn and then ColourPop another round. So no experience here. Now, as I've mentioned with lips, I don't have crazy highlighter colors. I do want some. I think it would be really good for me to start amassing some, particularly if I keep reviewing indie makeup with color schemes like this. Having colorful highlighters would certainly help. The only reason I don't is because I don't want to pay a lot for them, only to use them very situationally. That's why I don't have any right now, but I do want to add some. So I guess if anyone has like colorful highlighters, especially from indie brands that are not too expensive, let me know. I know Annette really likes Bitter Lace Beauty, so maybe look into those. But I think what I'll use today is this from Becca. It is called Golden Mint. I think this will actually be super perfect with kind of harmonizing with my multi-chrome that is on my eyelids. So, and it's very subtle, like the green is definitely super subtle, but at the same time it does come through. So I think it just works really well with this look. This is about the craziest I have with highlighters, Golden Mint. I don't have any highlighter color any crazier than this, so I definitely have a mighty need. This is one of the few highlighters in my collection that's light enough to pop on my nose. A lot of my highlighters are definitely light enough to go over blush, but then I try and put it on my bare nose and suddenly it looks like I put pigment on it, which is like super bad. So, and I'll just dust a little on my Cupid's bow. Yeah, that looks nice. And the rest on my chin. Here is the finished look with my hair looking presentable, passable, okay. It's a little limp, but so that's what it's looking like. I love how this looks. I feel like I haven't done a look this crazy in such a long time that I missed doing stuff like this. Now I do want to quickly share with you guys a comparison. Let me find where I put them all. Alright, I'm not going to compare it to Pastel Pup because pretty obviously not going to look like Pastel Pup. I think we can all figure that out without me needing to compare them. But I do have Serenity, Whale Song, and Feral. I love these. I don't use Whale Song hardly ever just because it's very blue, and you know how I relate to blue shadows, which is not very well. So even using this I like get really scared because my olive undertones can really muddle up blues. The blues are definitely really similar. Here is where them side by side. I'm not going to swatch them. It's already late. It's already really late. I really do need to go exercise, but here you can see what they look like. And as you can see, the green tone shimmers are going to be very similar. Where they're going to differ is that with Whale Song, which is on the bottom, they're not really duochromy. They're single color metallics, absolutely beautiful, but they're not going to have shifts, whereas pretty much every single shimmer in Indigo Ink has some kind of shift to it. So I feel like the shimmers in Indigo Ink are like on next level. Like Menagerie is really inserting a lot of nuance into their shimmer formula. Like, I don't know, is it going to be like every palette from now on, their metallics just are going to always be super nuanced, or was it just a special for this? I don't know, but either way, here's what they look like. Indigo Ink, as you can see, has so much more variety in the colors, so for me personally, that makes this palette way more approachable. I could see some people saying it's very chaotic. That is also a completely valid opinion. If you guys want me to do more looks with my Menagerie palettes, just let me know. My backlog is not long enough, I guess, apparently. And now I'm gonna compare it to Serenity. I'm gonna try and hold them. I'm always terrified I'm gonna drop them when I hold it like this, but here is these two. As you can see, they are very different, and yet at the same time, they also feel very similar in terms of just like direction, but obviously very different like looks you're gonna get out of these. I feel really conflicted about Serenity because the two shades I was the most excited for inside of Serenity, these yellow and orange metallics, are actually super crumbly and really don't feel very pigmented at all. The green and the blue and the purple are just so beautiful. These two shades right here I feel like were a really big letdown, so I like have mixed feelings about this palette. However, I think Annette still did a wonderful job, and I love the artwork and I love Menagerie, so that's why I keep it. Lastly, I don't really know how important this is, just because this is a very different mood, but I am gonna compare it to Feral. So here is my Feral, which is updated, and you can see they look really different. The red in here is gonna be a much more bright orange red. It's very not red. It's more like a very red orange. The pink in here is much more floral versus the pink in Indigo Ink is a very orange pink. And yeah, so you can see very different. As you can see, the yellow in here is very yellow versus the yellow in here is much more yellow green, as you saw how it applied on my eyelids. So ultimately I feel like this is really unique to them. I don't feel like I could really duplicate this palette within Menagerie itself. This really stands on its own as a great addition to the Menagerie palette family. I don't think if you have all of them that you are going to be duping yourself very much at all with this. That's just my personal thoughts. I don't have Killer Purr. I'm on the wait list for it because I've been wanting it for months, but the money never came up. And then when she said it's being discontinued, I was like, oh shoot, and it's sold out right now. And she said if it says out of stock, it will restock, and then once it's gone, she's just gonna pull it from the website entirely. So I'm desperately hoping that I can grab whatever that last restock is, because I will actually cry if I miss out on it. I cannot believe I've passed up on it for this long already, and if I miss out on it forever, it will almost be like karma for me. For not getting it sooner. Like, I should know better with indie releases by now, that how unpromised things are to stick around. Before I go, I just realized I think I have one more I think I might have one more that might be interesting. This is completely off-brand, but I actually was just thinking literally just now, hold them both up, and I swear to God if I drop this I'm gonna freak out. No, YouTubers never talk about this. It's really hard to hold up multiple palettes at a time. Here is a comparison to Club Nebula. I just was thinking about this literally as I was about to turn the camera off. Here they are. I feel like Indigo Ink feels kind of like a spin-off of Club Nebula. They have very similar vibes. There are a couple of similar shades. However, as you guys know, Club Nebula and Menagerie have vastly differing shimmer and metallic formulas, and the dark mattes go darker than in Indigo Ink, but I think it's interesting to see how similar these are. So if you guys missed out on Club Nebula, and you guys really wish you could have gotten your hands on it, you might actually find yourself enjoying this a lot. I think if you were to think yourself the kind of person to love Club Nebula, I would recommend this to you. I think you'll really enjoy this. Yeah, interesting there. That was fun. Okay, now for real, I'm signing off. Gonna go exercise, go get some sleep. Been a long summer. I will see you guys very soon. Bye!